We're at a new yard today that we created about a month and a half ago probably. I'm going to show you the way that we like to start our new yards. We come in here first and put this rubber down. That's just some old conveyor belt. Just use that for vegetation under the hives. We go ahead and put our pallets down, put our boxes in place, tops, everything complete and ready to go, shy of the bees. And we just bring in 5-frame nucs. This is splits that we've made from other yards. They got queen ride on those yards. We'll load them up on the trailer one evening after dark, bring them down here and set them in place right on top of the hive they're going to go in. So all these boxes were queen ride at one time, about a month and a half ago. Dealing with this many nucs, as we go through them, we'll probably have a dead out or two, and probably maybe one or two that's went queenless. That's just part of dealing with nucs. Some of them we've already placed down in the hive. That's why they're not all completely covered with nucs. We go through them every once in a while and until we get them all placed down. I like to have at least 4 frames of bees in the nuc before I move it down in a 10-frame hive. If they 2 or 3 frames, I leave them in that 5-frame nuc until they get built up stronger. Because they do much better in that smaller space than they will if you move them down with just 2 frames of bees or 3 frames of bees down in a 10-frame box. So we let them get filled out to 4 or 5 frames of bees, and then we move them down into the deeps. And I got a lot of drawn out comb we brought today. We're going to place cap and letter feeder in each one of these hives, so there's only going to be 8 frames. We got 5 frames from the nuc we're going to move down. We'll have to put 3 more frames, so we'll take a couple of drawn out frames, add into them, and 1 new foundation, and that's going to give them a good start to filling out the rest of that hive. We got an open feeder down on the end. We're giving them a little bit of open feed a couple times a week with some light syrup to help them to continue to draw and build up a little bit. About 3 weeks away from the goldenrod flow, we hit it. They'll really fill these boxes on out, have really good nests going into the winter time. They'll have plenty of feed. These will be in really good shape come springtime. And got new queens in all these, so these will be some prime hives for the honey flow. So we're going to go in and start moving these down and show you how we go from a 5-frame to our 10-frame deeps. All right, here's a hive that's not strong enough to move down in the box yet. There's about 2 frames of bees in this box. It's got 4 drawn combs and 1 foundation. That foundation is actually right in the middle. Got about 4.5 drawn combs. I'm gonna move this foundation side to the outside of the box. I'll move the drawn outside, facing outside, turn the foundation side inside. That'll help them draw it out a little faster. About 2 frames of bees. That's not big enough yet to move down. Just gonna close them up. We'll make sure they're queen right first and close them up and leave them in place. Come back 2 or 3 weeks from now, check them again. They should be a good 4 frames of bees, and at that time we'll move them down into the 10-frame hive. Here's a nuc that is pretty strong. It's got a good 5 frames of bees in it. So we're going to go ahead and move it down into the deep. I just like to smoke them there to start with. I just set the 5 frame over. We've already got inner covers and everything in place, ready to go. I open this box and move these 5 frames just as they sit. Now I'm going to place them right in the middle of the new box. Now I'll take 2 drawn out foundations, or drawn out comb, put them right up against these 5 frames. I'm going to slide them all over and put an empty foundation up against the feeder. Set the feeder in place, and that one is ready to go. Knock these bees into it. And that's all there is to it. And that's how we set up our hives. We've moved these 5 frames ahead of time and placed the entrances the same way the entrance is on the box. So they're already accustomed to this location, so that there's no confusion. They go right back in place. That little bit of distance up and down is not really confusing to them. They find that entrance right below them pretty quickly. You can see them already piling in there. So that works out pretty good, and that's just the way that we set a new yard up, or anytime we're adding nucs into an existing yard. That's the way we do it. We just move them in place, set them right on top of a box that's already set up, and come back the next day, or if we have to wait on them to grow out a little bit, we'll come back whenever they are strong enough and move them down just like that. That's all there is to it. We're going to go through the rest of this yard and do the same thing. All of them that are strong enough, we'll move down. If they're not at least 4 frames of bees, we're going to leave them in place, continue feeding them until they get drawn out and grow into 4 or 5 frames of bees, until this yard's completely finished moving down into these deeps. It is right now mid-August. We're 2-3 weeks away from the goldenrod flow. So we're going to continue feeding light syrup up until the goldenrod flow starts. That'll help them keep building these hives out a little bit, drawing comb, and once that goldenrod flow starts, they will really turn on, build up a big brood nest, store up some good stores for winter. We'll come back after the goldenrod flow is over with in probably early October, mid-October. We will assess the stores in these hives, and if needed, we'll fill these cap and ladder feeders inside these hives. We'll fill them up with some heavy 2-to-1 syrup, 1 or 2 rounds, 3 rounds if needed, until they are filled out heavy. These 8-frame hives, we want 3 or 4 good frames of honey going into wintertime, and that's enough to overwinter a colony of this size. All right. We've got all these nucs moved down. Finished setting them up into the deeps. I talked about earlier that we wouldn't take the weaker nucs down into the bigger boxes, but we decided to as we went through. They were in jesters, and I've got an earlier video that you can go back and look at that talks about our problems with jesters, and we seen more of that today as we went through. As they got really hot during the day, they completely emptied out all the bees onto the front of the hive, and it's causing some issues. The queens are underperforming and not growing as good as they should be. I think the heat is actually killing some of the brood, and so it's not an ideal condition to move those 2 and 3 framers down in this bigger box, but it's better than leaving it in that jester. We're going to continue feeding them and growing them out, and I think they'll still be in good shape. But that's it. That's how we set up a new yard, and just feed them out and grow them out, and they'll be in really good shape for winter time and be really good hives next spring. Thank you for watching. I would appreciate it if you would like this video, share this video if you would, subscribe to our channel. I'm Brad Kelly with Chilton Bee Company. Thank you.